Before we start, I want to share a story of the Bluzhva Rebbe. You might have heard this before, but it's a Hanukkah story, and it's very inspiring. It has to do with Bitachon. Everything has to do with Bitachon. Might have heard it, but I shared this at the Parsha class on Thursday night. I think it's one of the most inspiring stories ever. In the camps, they didn't have, obviously, anything to light the Hanukkah menorah with. So for weeks, they saved up. Some say it was like shoe polish. It was oil in the shoe polish they were able to save up to light the menorah. And then other people took strings from their prison uniforms to make wicks. And it was obviously very dangerous. If the Nazis caught them, they would kill them right away. So the first night of Hanukkah, they gathered together in the bunk of the Bluzhva Rebbe. And with their oil, they made a candle, and with the wick, and he said the first bracha.
How do you light the fire?
What?
How do you light the fire?
Flint. I'm sure they had matches. Probably they stole from the kitchen. I don't know. But he said Lahadik Ner Hanukkah, and then he made Shasa Nisim, and then he paused. Bluzhva Rebbe paused. He didn't make the bracha of Shechianu. He waited a long time, and eventually he made the Shechianu. So someone asked him, he's like, well, what was that about? What was with the long pause? He said, how could I possibly make the bracha of Shechianu, thanking Hashem for bringing us to this day, if we're in the concentration camps, in such a horrible situation? And then he said, I looked around at everyone's face and see that they're willing to give up their life and what they're willing to do just to light the Hanukkah menorah. And I said, of course I can make the bracha. And he made the bracha with a lot of intent and a lot of feeling. So only the Jewish people who have that trust in Hashem, that they believe that whatever situation they're in, Hashem wants them to be in that situation at that point. And I'm sure nobody understood why they were in that situation, why they particularly had to be in the concentration camp, whatever it was. But they knew they trusted Hashem. There was a reason, and with that they were able to risk their lives to do it. And think about it, lighting the Hanukkah candles is a rabbinic mitzvah. It's not like it's not even one of the 613 technically, but nevertheless they were willing to risk their lives to do it. So that inspired the Bluzhva Rebbe so he can make the Shechianu. So I like that story very much. I'll share it. Okay, so we're on page 118. We're just starting the fourth chapter. The fourth chapter is the longest chapter, and we've been discussing Bitachon, having trust in Hashem, and all of its details. Now, the Chovos HaLevavos is going to list the areas of one's life where Bitachon, where trust in Hashem, is necessary. I don't think we're going to have enough time to go into each one, but he's going to enumerate all of them. Aval, so Parak Daled, page 118. Aval, hadvarim shechayev hamaymin, liftoach behem ala bari yisrael, the things that someone who believes in God is required to trust in Him. Koilim oisim shnei minim. There's two types. Echad mehem divrei ha'olam hazeh. One is the things that are relevant for this world. Vasheni divrei ha'olam haba. And the second are things that are relevant for the next world. V'divrei ha'olam hazeh yichalku l'shnei chalakim. And the things within this world have two parts. So I made a whole, if you want to look after, I made a whole chart. He's going to have, and now in the Olam Hazeh section, he's going to have even more parts. So it's like a whole little tree. So Ekamehem and Yanim Olam L'Toelos Olam Hazeh. The first category in Olam Hazeh are the things in this world that you need for this world. Hasheni, the second, in Yanei Olam L'Toelos Olam Haba, the things in this world for the next world. Then Yanei Olam L'Toelos Olam Hazeh Chakul Shnei Chalagim. Now he's going in the first section of the first category. The things that you have to have bitachon in this world, for the purpose of this world, there are three. Okay? Echad mehem to'elus gufo bilvad, things that he needs for his body. Vasheni, to'elus tarfa v'sibos hono umene kinyano, his means of earning a livelihood and his possessions. Vashlishi, and the third, to'elus b'nei beso, things that are needed for his family. V'ishto, his wife, v'kroivav, his relatives, v'oavav, those that he loves, v'oivav, his enemies, umishahu lamala mimenu, lamat mimenu, mekitos bnei adam, and whoever is above him socially and below him socially. So he says these three things are the three things in the category of earthly needs for the purpose of Olam Hazeh that a person needs to have bitachon. When it comes to earning a livelihood, he's going to discuss we've already discussed the part where you have to put in your own effort your own hishtadlus, but we know that as we discussed many times, that the success doesn't come from a person's own hishtadlus, but rather his success comes from Hashem. And all these things, a person needs to have trust in Hashem when it comes to his body, his health, and other aspects, the way he earns a livelihood, and his relations with other people. All of that, we're going to see, needs bitachon, trust in Hashem. Now we're going, things in this world, but for olam haba. What does that mean? Things that he does, literally the requirements of the heart. So shout out to the name of the book. No. Meaning a person has to love Hashem, fear Hashem. He has to believe in Hashem, believe in the oneness of Hashem. All these things are. We don't often realize that the mitzvahs not all the mitzvahs in the Torah require us to do actions. There are some things, beliefs that we have to have, thoughts. That's part of the 613 commandments. So there's an element of bitachon required when performing these mitzvahs. And any mitzvah that has to do with just a person, for example, putting on tefillin, that doesn't involve anybody else. Wearing tzitzis, that doesn't involve anybody else. That's a mitzvah that just involves oneself. So we're going to see that even when doing mitzvahs, there's an element of bitachon, of trust in Hashem, which is required. Now, a person also has trust in Hashem when it comes to performing the mitzvahs that require other people to perform them. What are mitzvahs that require other people to perform them? Kitztaka, like giving charity, chasadim, acts of loving kindness, learning wisdom, learning Torah, to encourage people to do the right thing and to warn them from doing the wrong thing. We often forget that the Jewish people were all one. So included in being all one is that we have to encourage people to do Torah mitzvahs, and we have to rebuke them in a smart, intelligent way when they do the wrong thing. Because we don't live on an island. We care about every Jew, that every Jew should follow the Torah. Okay, so that was the things in this world for the purpose of the next world. Now he's going to talk about the inyane ha'olam haba yichakol l'shnei chalakim. Now this, he said also you need to have bitachon when it comes to olam haba, in the next world. And that's divided into two sections also. Echad mehem hagmul haroi. That's having bitachon that Hashem is going to reward a person in the next world for the things that he did in this world. V'hasheni shehu mechesed habori yis'aleh al chasidim v'hanavim la'olam haba. That Hashem does kindness for the Hasidim and the Nevi'im, the pious people and the prophets in the next world, which means that not only does Hashem reward a person for the good mitzvos and the good deeds that he did in this world, but also very righteous people, they're going to get even more than they technically would deserve according to the letter of the law because of Hashem's kindness. And he says part of bitachon is trusting in that Hashem's kindness is such that righteous people get rewarded even more than they deserve. Now he's going to summarize. There are 7 parts, there are 7 things that we need to have bitachon, trust in Hashem for. A person's body. His possessions and the ways that he earns a livelihood. The third, his wife, his kids, his relatives, those that he loves and those that hate. The fourth, the doing mitzvos that are relevant for himself. The fifth, the mitzvos that are relevant to other people. The sixth, the reward in the next world that he's going to get for his deeds in this world. And the seventh, the reward, the extra reward we'll call it, that Hashem gives as a chesed, as a kindness for those that the special ones, those that he loves. Like it says, how abundant is your goodness that you have hidden away for those who fear you, that you have performed for those who seek refuge in you in the presence of men. We know it's Yisod. We mentioned last week that Hashem does kindness for us even though we don't deserve it. And we said that's one of the tricks of the Yetzer Hara. He tries to say, you can't have bitachon, you can't have trust in God. You've done so many sins. you've missed davening, you spoke Lashon Hara, someone like you can have trust in Hashem. And we quoted the Vilna Gaon, he says, Hine Kel Yeshuasi, that Hashem is my salvation, and the name of Hashem used in that pasuk is Kel, which is Hashem's name of kindness. Eftach v'lo avchan, and since I trust in Hashem's kindness, that He's going to do things for me, even when I don't deserve it, as chesed, therefore I can have trust in Hashem and I won't be afraid. So that's one of the important things to remember and to instill in our hearts, is that Hashem does kindness for us even when we don't deserve it. And since I explained all the introductions, that person needs Habitachon in Hashem, now I have to explain each one the proper way to Habitachon. Now what he's going to do, he listed these 7 areas that a person needs to have Bitachon, and now he's going to spend the rest of the chapter explaining each one exactly how and detailing how a person should have Bitachon in each one of these areas. And the first one, which Plinetta will start next week, is a person's body, a person's physical body, how Bitachon is relevant there, and how he should have trust in Hashem when it comes to the matters of his